Hi guys, Olivia here, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Friday, November 5th, and I'm back for my stitching update. It has been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you've all been well, and you've been stitching, making, creating all of the things. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast where I talk about my cross-stitching and my quilting. However, if quilting is not something that you are interested in seeing or hearing about, I show it a little bit later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they'll be making their appearance, so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So how have you guys all been? Hope you've had a great 2 weeks since we last sat down to chat. As you can tell from behind me, I have changed out all of the Halloween decor, and it is now Thanksgiving autumn-y decor that is up behind me. We do decorate for Thanksgiving here in my house, so that means a lot of turkeys and a lot of pumpkins. The quilt behind me, I did it last year. I remember I started it during Smoke-mageddon. And I forgot to go and look to see what the name of it is, so I will do that when I get to the quilting section of the video. I do want to say thank you to everybody for all of your kind comments on my last video, because I did show quite a bit of my Halloween previous finishes, both cross-stitching and quilting, and I just really appreciate all of the kind comments. I know Halloween is not everybody's favorite. I love it. It's one of my favorite holidays, and so I do enjoy decorating for Halloween. So thank you to everybody for all of your kind comments. It was very much appreciated. In this video, I am going to talk a little bit about previous finishes. I don't have as much Thanksgiving, autumn finishes as I do Halloween, and that is something that I have been slowly working on over the past year during Autumn Wednesday with my friend Yvette. So I'm gonna get there. Eventually, I will have a lot of wonderful Thanksgiving cross-stitch decorations as I go along, and I'm enjoying stitching for that year round. But I will have some of that to show and talk about. I have continued to be a monogamous stitcher behind the scenes. I am enjoying it. I did have a lot of questions about that in my last video. Was I enjoying being the monogamous stitcher? Yes, I was. I have been able to finish some things. It's been a very enjoyable process, but I will return to my rotation, I'm thinking, at the beginning of the year. So I did have a new start this past week. As many of you know, if you've been following along this Flosstube journey over the past year, Yvette and I have been working on what we call a Wednesday autumn stitch. Of course, it's more like Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, just kind of depends on how we are doing our rotation. But we usually always on Wednesday will stitch it together. And so I did finish Turkey Hollow, and I showed it in my last video. And last week we were supposed to start this, but because I was trying to finish our Lasting Friendship, we postponed it to this week. So the project comes out of the Winds of Autumn booklet by Blackbird Designs, and it is Mighty Acorn. So I was really excited when, because we have a list of all of the autumn stitches that we are going to be working on. So when we started working on Turkey Hollow, we knew that this one was coming up as soon as it was done. So I was really, really excited when it was finally turned to stitch Mighty Acorn. Several people on Instagram, Facebook they're either working on it or they have already finished it. I think the most recent one I saw was Celeste of Celeste Creates. She finished it, and I really enjoyed hearing the sentiment behind the piece. And it really just made me want to stitch it more and more and more. So this is what we will be working on as our Wednesday autumn stitch until it is finished. I did get a teeny tiny start on it. And here is my progress. So not a lot to get excited about, but it's okay. I am stitching it on a piece of 36 count Wren by Picture This Plus with the called for threads of 1/2. I love Wren. It's probably one of my favorite linens to stitch on. I love the color. I love it. And it's kind of hard to find right now. But I was glad to have this piece so that I could stitch Wren on it. And I love it. I just love the whole Mighty Acorn piece. I love the border that scrolls around it because it really frames it in, and I just love it. It's such a beautiful piece. And of course, I love a mustard colored house. And I was talking to my sister-in-law on the phone yesterday, and she said, she goes, I have a question to ask you. Do you ever stitch anything that doesn't have a giant house on it? And I looked around at everything that I stitched and everything that I am stitching, and I was even trying to think of things that are in like the Mocking Basket of Whips, and just about every single one of them has some sort of a house, whether it's a big house, a little house, the shadow of a house, just something. It's always got a house in it, and I think that's funny. I don't know why that is. I'm sure that there's probably like some sort of reasoning behind why, you know, stitchers, you know, are attracted to various motifs more than others. But I just really like a good house motif, especially if it's some sort of a salt box house or, you know, like a mustard colored house. I am just extremely attracted to those motifs on a sampler, or even on, you know, something like Mighty Acorn, where it's got that house right there at the base of the tree. I don't know why. Here are the threads for Mighty Acorn. Just a very beautiful fall palette. It's all Weeks Dye Works. Gorgeous, gorgeous palette. I love it. All right, so next up is Our Lasting Friendship by Blackbird Designs. I stitched this with Lauren, Carol, and Yvette. They finished theirs, and then that left just me left to finish mine. So I have been working on, or I worked on this monogamously last week. I finished it Monday morning, and here it is. So I absolutely love this piece so much. I love the colors. The colors are just so sweet, and it's going to look fantastic in my bedroom. It looks very feminine. I think that's why I like it. It's very sweet, very feminine. It's such a beautiful piece celebrating friendship. If you have watched me as I started this journey back in July, right off the bat, I had made a mistake because while I was stitching this part right here, I was watching the Netflix show Clickbait, and the middle pot that's on top should be quite a bit lower than it is because it's up several stitches higher. That meant that this top border here was going to touch the birds' heads, and since it didn't touch any of the other motifs, I felt like I couldn't get away with just stitching it and leaving it, so I was going to have to modify the border. So I left the border. I ripped it out, figuring that I would decide, did I want to do a border? Did I not want to do a border? And then I decided that I would, because I felt like it really framed the piece in. So I finished all of the motifs, got the middle section all stitched up with my friend's initials, started the border, and had to rip it out 4 times. And I was really frustrated because the border is not just a simple zigzag. The zig goes down, and then you've got this set of stitches, and then it zigs, and then the stitches go. I don't even know how to explain it, but I kept reversing it and doing it the wrong way. So by doing that, the border was not long enough, so you were going to have to add extra, and then when you get over to the other side, it was going to shoot way out, or it was going to be really tight. It was just so frustrating because I just kept making the same mistake over and over and over in the same spot. I would rip it all the way out, start stitching it, and I would just make the same mistake just over, and I was very frustrated by the end of it. And, you know, like, Brian was watching me struggle with it, and then he's like, well, maybe you just need to walk away from it for a little while. And I thought, no, I just want to get this finished. I just want to get the border right. I still had to modify the border a little bit because again, I had to make the border taller. And so I actually, if you have the chart, I just flipped it so the way that the zigzag goes, I had the flat part on top, and it was supposed to be on the bottom, so I just flipped it, and then I changed the corner a little bit on both sides. It's supposed to be different, and I changed it, so the top is not going to look the same if you have this piece. But it's done. It's gorgeous. I love it. I can't wait to have it hanging on my wall. I got a quote for a custom frame because it's going to need a custom frame for it. So I have a quote for it, and I just have to decide, you know, do I go ahead and do it? But I love it. I'm so glad that Yvette and Carol and Lauren were so up for stitching it along with me. It's just, it was so much fun to stitch with them. And I'm glad that they, you know, they hadn't stitched it yet and they were totally up for it. And so thank you so much, ladies, for stitching it with me. And I will always have the memory of stitching it with you guys and looking at the border that caused me so much trouble, but it looks great now. So I stitched this on a piece of 36 count Legacy with the called for threads 1/2. So my plans for the next couple of weeks, I am going to start a new project. I was going to pull Ann Priest and work on her until I get her finished, but she's going to take a little bit of time to work on. So I decided that I wanted to try to squeeze in one little Christmas stitch before I start working on her. And I don't know how to say this designer's last name, but it is called Colonial Christmas Practice Sampler by Primitive Stitching, Pattern Designs by Shelly, and it's Auen. She has an Etsy shop, which is where I bought this. I've had this for a little while. I've wanted to start it several times, and I think now would be the perfect time. I don't think it's going to take that long. My friend Tina stitched it, and I feel like she got it done and relatively quickly. I'm going to stitch it on a piece of 32 count Belfast linen that I picked up from Hobby Lobby quite a while ago. My friend Tina also stitched hers on the same particular piece of linen, and she used, you're supposed to stitch it on, well, it's not supposed to be 32 count, it's supposed to be some other count of linen, and the designer stitched it with one thread. So Tina did, she went and she started stitching with the one thread, and she sent me a picture of it. It had great coverage, so I am also going to do it 1/2 on 32 count. Here is the called for DMC. Just all those beautiful primitive Christmas colors that I love. So I will start that tonight, and hopefully I will have a lot of progress on it and maybe even a finish. I hesitate to say a finish anymore because I plan to get so much more done to show in this video, especially like previous finishes. You know, the trench bowl has some stuff in it, but it's missing a couple of things, and I've had them out for the past 2 weeks to get them finished, and I just have not had the time to sit down and fully finish them. So I hesitate to say that I'll finish it in the next 2 weeks, but that's my plan. That's my goal, is to work on it and get it finished. And I already have, I think, a frame for it because it will fit in an 8x10, which is perfect. I love projects when they fit in standard size frames. So hopefully I will have it to show you guys in my next video. So just like in my last video, instead of doing a home tour, I just decided I would pull all the stuff that I had previously finished that were related to the holiday. In this case, it's going to be Thanksgiving. I pulled some of my Thanksgiving cross-stitch finishes, and I'm going to show them in this video as well. Because I have that content to share with all of you guys, it has enabled me to be a monogamous stitcher behind the scenes. I will, of course, return to my regular rotation at the beginning of the year. Now, some of these pieces I don't remember off the top of my head who the designers are or what their names are. So if I don't remember, I will scroll the name of the chart and who the designer is right here, and I will also put all of that information down below in my description box. The first one is this one. I finished it last year. I think it is called Pumpkin Hollow, and I want to say it is by Homespun Prims by Lori. And if that is correct, I won't need to scroll the information down below. I don't remember what I stitched this on. I do know that I stitched it with the called for DMC. The chart, I did modify it because the word pumpkin, it was missing something, and I knew if I would have left it that way, every time somebody would have saw it, they would have commented, you know, you forgot whichever letter it was. So it has been modified to allow it to say pumpkin. And of course, Pumpkin Hollow is my name. So I do have I did stitch our last name right here and the year that we got married. This next one, I don't remember what the name of the chart is. Of course, put the information down below in the description box. I stitched it with the called for DMC. One turkey is a little bit lighter than the other one. I don't remember why I did that, but I absolutely love this piece. I finished it right before Thanksgiving, and I think I was going to attempt to make it into a small pillow and then have it, you know, during Thanksgiving. But I ended up running out of time. Something happened last year and it kind of delayed me in finishing this one, or, you know, fully finishing it. But this one will also go into the trench bowl. It is stitched on a piece of 36 count, and I believe it is it 1/2? I think I stitched it with 2 threads. So it would be 2/2. But I love it, and I hope my plan is I already have all of the fabric pulled and all of the stuff to turn those both into pillows, and then of course they will go right back here in the trench bowl, and I will have them to show in my next video. So another previous finish, and this one I took out of the frame that I had it in because my hope was that when I had put it into the frame, I had left myself enough margin that I could take it off of the sticky board and then relace it and then find a new frame for it. But unfortunately, I did not. So here's the back side of it. So I cut this, and then here I wrapped it around. But it is Cinnamon Stars by Plum Street Sampler. So I stitched this on a piece of, I think, 32 count Vintage Country Mocha with the DMC that that's either listed on the chart as a conversion or I converted it, but I don't remember what I did. So this is one, right after I finished it, I remember I ran over to Walmart and I got one of their, it's like they have those $4 or $5 frames, and I got one of those and I put it in, and that way I could get it up before Thanksgiving. But the frame never really worked very well with the piece. So I'm hoping that I need to figure out something, because I would like to just be able to put it back in another 8x10 frame. I might have to sew something here so that way I can lace it. We'll see. I'm hoping that I will be able to do that, because I really would like to refinish it and then put it in a frame that really complements it. So that is something that I am hoping to work on between now and Thanksgiving, but if it doesn't happen, it's definitely one that'll just kind of hang out, and then I will work on it sometime over the course of the next year. This one is Thanksgiving Comes Again by the Prairie Schooler. I stitched this on a piece of 32 count linen that IT coffee dyed, and I did it 2/2 with the called for DMC. I always get a lot of questions on this one whenever it makes its appearance. So the chart, everything looks the same on the chart except for this right here. I think it's like a cornucopia or a turkey or something. So whenever people see this, they think that it's a totally different chart. And, you know, Prairie Schoolers, it comes with, you'll have the chart for this. And then it always has those 4 extra little, the extra, and a lot of people will make it into a smaller framed piece, or they'll use the little pieces to make ornaments or little smalls. So what I decided to do is, because I love pumpkins, instead of stitching whatever it was that was there, I would stitch the pumpkin that is also on the chart there in its place. And I started stitching this when I went to my very first retreat. It was in 2019, and it was the fall, I think it was the fall fling that Acorns and Threads hosted. And it was a lot of fun. And so I thought I'm going to start this piece there, and I will start on the pumpkin. So that way, every time I look at it, I will always have that memory of my very first retreat. I did get it framed up at Acorns and Threads as well. And it's just this beautiful green rustic frame. I just love it. So I get to have this out, and I've been enjoying it over the past couple of days. I always look forward to when it comes out because it's just such a fun piece. And last year was the first year that it got to hang. And I loved having it up. It was just so much fun. And I was really surprised it actually came back in plenty of time. I had dropped it off at the very end of summer, and it, they told me it would take like 3-ish months. So I was figuring I would get it back around Christmas, and I actually got it back right before my birthday. So I was really, really pleased to be able to have it and to display it the rest of autumn. And my last one, so I just finished this, fully finished it last night. So this is Turkey Hollow Farms by Stacy Nash. I stitched on a piece of a 36 count antique white with the called for threads 1/2. And then once it was done, I did distress it. I used the Primitive Antiquing Spray by Primitive Gatherings. I made sure it was really, because you really have to shake it, because if you don't and you go to spray it, it splatters. And I shook it and shook it and shook it and shook it, and it still was splattering. And so this part right here, I sprayed it, and then I actually took a towel and was like blotting it so I could get it to sort of distribute a little bit better. But I love how it turned out, and I'm so very happy to have it. And it will be hanging, once I do with this video, it will be hanging up in the house, and I'm just so happy to have it finished and have it displayed this year. My turkey does have the tail feathers. If you have the chart, it is not, well, at least mine and then several other people's copies did not have the tail feathers. And thank you so much to Shanda for pointing it out to me, because I would not have even known if she had not contacted me and said, hey, does your chart have the tail feathers on the turkey? So thank you, Shanda, for pointing that out. So he does have them now, and he looks fabulous. One of the changes that I did, and Yvette charted it, is instead of the gun, she charted hers with a rake, and then shared how she did it with Christy and myself. So I just did not want him to have a gun and shoot my turkeys because I love them. But I love how this turned out. So the frame is an 11 by 14 that I picked up from the Goodwill. If I would have stitched it with the other border that goes around here, it would not have fit in an 11 by 14. I would have had to have gotten something custom made for it. So I was really glad that once, and I didn't even do that with the intention of, being able to put it in a frame. I didn't see the point of stitching that outside border. So I'm glad that I left it off, because that enabled me to put it into a standard 11 by 14 frame. So I went to the Goodwill, and that is where I purchased the frame. I brought it home and I sanded it, and then I painted it in black, and then I went and sanded it again to just distress it a little bit. I took the piece of glass that was in the frame out, and I took my piece and took 3 layers of batting and laid it onto a piece of mat board, and then I laid my piece on and I did lace it, and I love it. I really love it. I can't even begin to tell you how happy I am to have this done, and now it'll be hanging in my house. I'm just really excited. Cross stitching finishes. So those are all of the finishes that I'm going to show in this video. I will have finishes to show next time. I will show the finishes in the trench. I also have some finishes here on the tree that I want to talk about. So I will show those next time. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show a little bit of mail that I got. I'm going to announce the giveaway winners from my previous video, and also I do have a new giveaway for this video, so I'm going to do all of that next. So if you're not interested in seeing any of that, this is a good, stopping off point. I will have quilts to show. So if you want to see the quilts, you'll just have to stay tuned. All right, so the Fat Quarter Shop sent me a couple of packages over the past couple of weeks of new items that are available now on the Fat Quarter Shop's website, and I will put a link to their website down below. The first thing is, it comes in this big giant box. It is called the Floss and Store Acrylic Storage Box. So this is the box it comes in, which this alone, I can get a lot of use out of this box. But inside of the box was this. So this is the Floss and Store Acrylic Storage Box. And the Fat Quarter Shop has all of those larger floss bobbins. And they made this box to be able to store those bobbins in. The drawer does pull out, and you're gonna get some glare from my light. I'll try to do it this way. But see, I don't have the floss bobbins that the Fat Quarter Shop designs, but this I think would be good for honestly anything. I was thinking buttons or thread or needles or any of the little crafting items that you have, for your different hobbies. But it's a beautiful box. And I definitely feel like there's a lot of uses beyond just the, to store your floss bobbins. So that is an item that is exclusively available at the Fat Quarter Shop. And then what they sent me is the Farm Fresh Egg Floss Drops by Lori Holt. And when I tried to hold them up earlier, it got all washed out. So this is what they look like. They are in the shape of an egg. So cute. They do come in a package of 20, and I would show you the package, but it's just gonna blow it all out. And I tried to, make the light go a little bit lighter, but it's still, I think it's because it's very overcast right now. There's like another dark cloud moving over, and so everything is gonna be blown way out. They also sent me the Square in a Square Quilt Block Foundation paper piecing patterns. So it does come in a little 1.5. So cute. Look at how tiny this is. Adorable. That would make such a cute little mini quilt. So it comes in the 1-inch size, comes in 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, and 4.5. So lots of fun and a lot of possibilities. The next is the Geneva Quilt Pattern by It's So Emma. Such a beautiful, beautiful pattern. And the Rose and Bloom Block of the Month by Lila Boutique. Beautiful quilt. So beautiful. So thank you so much to the Fat Quarter Shop for sending me those items to share and show it with all of you guys. And some of these will be in my giveaway, which is coming up very, very soon. So in my last video, I did have a giveaway, and thank you so much to everybody who played along. The question was, what was your favorite cartoon that you watched when you were a kid? And so I really enjoyed reading through everybody's comments. I do appreciate you guys, playing along and answering the question. I know that sometimes the questions are just kind of like out there, but it's fun. And so reading through the comments, I remember watching a lot of those cartoons when I was a kid, and even when my kids got older, or when my kids came along, not that they got old, well, they are older, but when they were kids, they watched some of those older cartoons too. So it was a lot of fun reading through all of the comments, and thank you to everybody who entered. I do appreciate it so much. So the first winner, and this was number 1, is Laura T. Number 2 was Liberty's Welcome, and that is Debbie Cadwell. Number 3 is this chart by Plum Sampler, and the winner is Mrs. Book Lover 55. Number 4 is the Pink Sparrow sampler, and that is Kelly Stallard. It's Stallard. And number 5 is the Hannah Ann Wallace chart, and that is Nancy Melvin. So congratulations to all of the winners. I will do my best to comment on your comment, but what you need to do is contact me, let me know contact me via email, let me know what you won, and send me your address so that I can send your prize out in the mail to you soon. Thank you so much for playing. I appreciate it so much. So this video also has a giveaway. What you need to do is down below you will answer the question, which I will give it to you shortly, but you need to make sure that you are putting which items you are interested in winning, because that is how I search, and then in my next video I will announce the winners. So the first item and number 1 are the Floss Drops by Lori Holt. So these are the Farm Fresh Egg Floss Drops. So this is number 1. Number 2 is the 4.5 inch square in a square foundation paper piecing notebook tablet. It's a tablet. This is number 2. Number 3 is the Geneva pattern by It's So Emma. And number 4 is the Rose and Bloom Block of the Month. So if you're interested in any or all of them, you need to make sure that you put your numbers down below. So the question that you need to answer is, now that Halloween is over and we are approaching Thanksgiving, are you decorating your house for autumn Thanksgiving, or are you just going straight to Christmas? And leave that answer down below, and then make sure you're putting which ones you are interested in winning, and also make sure you are a subscriber and that you like the video. And of course I will announce the winners in my next video. Okay, so that brings me to the part of the video where I am going to talk about quilting next. So if you are not interested in seeing or hearing about those, this is a great stopping off point, and as usual I will be back in 2 weeks. Otherwise, stay tuned for the quilts. All right, let's talk about quilts. So I do have some Thanksgiving quilts, or like autumny Thanksgiving quilts, and I'll show those in my next video because there's only 4 of them. And I realized that, you know, because I've always talked all along how when it comes to the like autumn Thanksgiving cross stitch pieces, I don't have like a lot, and that was something that I needed to be working on. And I realized that the same could actually be said for my Thanksgiving, like just autumn quilts, because a lot of times the Halloween quilts, even though they tend to be more like autumny looking, they still look a little like a Halloween. You know what I mean? So that's something that I am also going to need to be focusing on this next year, I think. So I did go and I pulled a previous finish, and this is, it's not a quilt, but I always tend to think of it as being sort of quilting related. It is hand embroidery, and I think that when you finished it, you were supposed to turn it into like a pillow, but I framed mine, and it does need to be reframed or maybe put into the pillow after all. I finished this one, it's been many years. It is by Crabapple Hill Studios. I don't remember what the name of it is, so I will do my best to go and look and see if it's still available on her website. Some of the older charts or patterns are just not available anymore. This one here, I stitched it probably 5-6 years ago, and this was just an old frame that we had around the house. It's pretty beat up now. I think when it's, you know, it's been in the bins with the decorations, and I think some of the decorations, you know, over the years has sort of hit it and kind of dinged it up. So I think what I might do is figure out maybe a new way to finish this and sort of refinish it. This is probably, I'm guessing, just set. I don't even think there's mat board in here. I can feel that there's a layer of batting, so I'm thinking that what I did was I either stitched it on the layer of batting or I laid it on the batting and cut it to fit into the frame. But it's got a lot of cute, sweet little, you know, autumny motifs. It's got sunflowers, acorns, some bittersweet, it looks like. You're supposed to put French knots in here, and I did the little bling dots. But it's fun. It used to hang in the dining room, but it hasn't for the past couple of years. It's pretty much just kind of went back into the box. So that's definitely something I need to think about, maybe giving it a new life, because it's probably not going to hang up anymore. So I'm thinking maybe I might put it into a pillow. So in my last video, I showed this. So this is the Jane Austen Coverlet. Is that what they call it? Coverlet quilt. I just call it the Jane Austen quilt. Last time I talked about that in the line of all of the quilts that I am working on, that this one was next. And I did start it after my last video. I started it on Saturday. I worked on it on and off last week, but this week I haven't had a chance to work on it yet. I'm hoping to pick it back up again this weekend and continue working on it. The part that I am at, and I will show you the diagram. So I am, let's see if the diagram, okay, so I have this top portion done here, and I have one of these rows together. So I'm hoping to finish this middle section over the weekend, and then next week work on this. It is time consuming. It is a very time consuming quilt. You do have to pay attention because all of the diamonds go in a specific spot. Now, if you get them in the wrong spot, it's not really a big deal. Some of my diamonds are not in the correct spot, and it was just because while I was assembling them, somehow they got out of order. I just tried to make sure that if there was a fabric that was exactly the same, it wasn't sitting next to it. I did make some changes. When I first sat down to start doing this, they give you this direction here. So this is, there's the very top, and then this one. So you have the two layers together, or the two rows together, and it's telling you how to assemble the two rows together. It has you draw this line right here on the sashing fabric, on the back side of the sashing fabric. I did that for the very first row, and then after that I realized all I really needed was the dots. And so that's what I've done going forward. I just make sure the dots are in the right spot, because then I can line it up, no problem. It did save a little bit of time doing it that way. I use a friction pin. It has you use a pencil, but I noticed when I drew my first line, you could actually see the pencil line through the fabric. I mean, I sewed over the top of it, but I definitely did not want it to show up, so I used a friction pin. It is on the back side, so it's not, you know, a lot of people are like, you know, it's dyeing the fabric, you know, you can see the line. It's on the back side. So this is the corner of the top corner of the quilt. So this is the corner. Okay, so here is my progress so far. So this right here is the top corner, and the middle panel goes here. It'll attach here. But here is what it looks like so far. So there are 10 rows sewn on now. And this is what it looks like. It is a beautiful, beautiful quilt. I love all of the gorgeous fabrics. I'm so glad that I just decided to sit down and work on it, because it's a beautiful quilt. I am absolutely enjoying working on it. Once I got past that first initial, this is a scary quilt, it actually went very, very well. The first like 3-4 rows go a little bit quicker, but then once you get into the longer rows, they do take quite a while. I think the 10th row, when I sat down and started working on it, I think there's like 20 20 diamonds or so, you know, something like that, and it took me about 2 hours from the time that I started marking the dots on the back to, you know, because you have to make sure you have it in the right order and just all of that, and then sewing it and then making sure it stays in the same order and then sewing those together. And it probably took me about 2 hours. I mean, it's a very time consuming quilt. So you do need to take your time and pay attention, and it's not one that you can really do assembly line. So you couldn't take all of the diamonds and assembly line them. You need to do each row because it does have a specific placement. Again, if you get them in the wrong spot, I don't think anybody's gonna notice. So I hope the next time that I do my video, I will have it all together, or at least that middle section together. I really hope that I do. This past week I just didn't get any extra time to sit down and work on it because I was working on finishing some client quilts, and then I also had a quilt that I quilted for myself and that is the S'mores quilt by Jo Morton. So here is the S'mores quilt. This quilt comes out of the February 2013 edition of American Patchwork and Quilting. This quilt, I can only take credit for 10% of it because the majority of the blocks were pieced by my friend. But here is a S'mores quilt. So I love it. It's all out of Civil War reproduction fabrics, and I love it. It is I just love all of these. I think this is one of my favorite quilts. I know I say that about a lot of my quilts, but I love this one so much. It is just so fantastic. It just makes me so happy. So the quilting that I did on it was just a simple meandering motif. I didn't want to do anything too busy, too fancy. I wanted to allow the quilt to have its story and not my quilting. So it is done, and this particular quilt hangs in the dining room on my quilt crane. And I posted a picture of the quilt yesterday after I got the binding on it, and thank you to everybody for all of your kind comments. I am just so happy to have it done, and the binding's on it, which is a record for me because I got it done the night before and then I put the binding on before I went to bed, and then yesterday I spent the afternoon stitching it while hanging out with Freddie. So, but that doesn't usually happen. Usually I get the quilt tops finished and it could be a little while before the binding goes on it, but in this instance I put it on right away, and I just love it so much. I'm so happy that it is finished. The next quilt of my own that I will be quilting, I actually have two. So I have the red sampler quilt, and I'm also today I'm supposed to get the backing fabric for the farmer's wife quilt. So I'm hoping to have both of those to show you in my next video. So hopefully, I mean, I don't know that I will. It just kind of depends on how client quilts go. And I will be starting to work back on project bags for the shop. So we'll just see. I just kind of fit it in when I have some free time. So hopefully, because I think the red sampler quilt's actually gonna hang here during Christmas, but we'll see. So my plan quilting wise is just to continue working on the Jane Austen quilt until I get it done. Not this weekend, but next weekend my local quilt shop is having an anniversary sale. So I'm going to wander over there because she sent me a message and told me that she is having giveaways and discounts and things like that. She told me to come on over. So I'm going to go over next weekend. It works out because it is on next Friday, so a week from today is my birthday, so it worked out really good. So now I get to go and pet wonderful fabric on my birthday, and I can't think of a better way to celebrate it. So after I finish the Jane Austen quilt, I am planning on making another quilt out of the Tried and True book by Jo Morton. And I really want to make this one. It is called Glad Tidings. And I want to make it because I need a Christmas quilt that hangs in my other quilt hanger across the room. And this will be the perfect size. It finishes about 40 inches wide, which is perfect for that particular hanger. So this is my plan. I just need to go and find some red fabric, and so I'm going to look for that when I go to my local quilt shop. I'm looking forward to going. I love going and petting Civil War reproduction fabric. So, well guys, as far as everything, that is all I have to share and show in this video. I plan to be back in 2 weeks, of course, and I will show my Thanksgiving quilts as well as the remaining previous finishes cross-stitching wise. So I will show that next time. But I want to say a big thank you to all of you guys for all of those who leave me such kind comments on my videos. I really do appreciate it. I can't express enough how much it means to me when you guys take the time to leave me a kind comment. And even on Instagram and Facebook, when I post a finish or progress, I just really appreciate all of the love and support that you guys continue to give me. So I really, really do appreciate it. I wish there was a way that I could adequately express how much it means to me, but I really just do appreciate all of you guys. So thank you so much. Thank you for stopping by today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below and I will do my best to answer them. I do want, another quick thing is I'm getting ready to get into my really busy time, and there could be a delay in me responding to you, and I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring you. I promise, I will get to your question and we'll answer it. But this time of the year, I get a lot of quilts coming in, and they take a lot of my time. So anyway, I think I already said I'll be back in 2 weeks, but if you want to see what I'm up to in between all of my videos, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, or I have a Facebook page which is called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting. I will leave all of that information down below, contact, as well as all of the finishes and all of that. I will put all of that down below in case you are wondering. But thank you so much for stopping by today, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Happy stitching. Bye.